Okay, so this video is about why is communication important for the IT professional. So you have probably signed up for this course because the subject is a core unit for your degree, and you might be wondering, why do we think communications is essential for IT professionals? Well, there's a lot of good reasons, so I'll work through them one by one. Here's a couple of examples of where you might need communication. You write a really nicely designed, elegant, high-performance login page for your company's web product. It works much better than the last version did. It's actually completely bespoke. You've done a huge amount of work to get it right. However, in the past, you've given not very exciting presentations. So instead, your boss offers to present your piece of work to the board of the company. So what happens in that scenario? Well, obviously he's the one giving the presentation of the work, so the people on the board, they probably look at the work that you've done and associate it with your boss. He may mention you by name even, but the issue is going to be that you're not giving the presentation and telling people about how good your work is, so you don't really get the credit for that work. It's really important in a professional context to be able to communicate your successes with other people. Not necessarily in a braggy way, but in a way that is clear and concise and discusses what your team has been doing or what you've been doing. Another example, your boss is hopelessly out of date and decides to install Windows 2000 on all the computers in the company. You are not particularly happy about this. You tell them it will create huge amounts of extra work for you and your team, and you'll probably have to redo all that work anyway when you move back to something more normal. They're not convinced, but they do ask you to write a report clearly setting out what extra work will be created and why the alternatives are better, and then they skim read it. So in this scenario, you need to write a short, maybe 2-page report or 4-page report, or even just a 1-page report, really clearly stating what extra work will be created for your team and why the alternatives are better. Now, remember that you're convincing your boss, so you can't just say, I know better, or it's obvious. Those types of things won't change his mind necessarily. You need to really convince them. You need to persuade them and change their mind about this without haranguing them or having huge amounts of technical detail that they don't need. You just need evidence for your statements that convinces them to change their opinion. That's a really important power as a professional, the ability to talk to someone and to change their opinion about a topic. So that's something that if you develop in this subject, it will be hugely useful for you in the future. Third, you're the boss now. You'll get to a point in your career where you'll be in charge of maybe a tiny team, maybe 3 people, maybe 10 people, maybe 1,000 people, maybe a huge corporation, who knows? But you're leading a large team of IT workers and you decide to make a big change to the procedures. Your staff don't like it. Maybe you decide to use a different product to the one that has been being used for some time. Maybe you change some procedure in the way that staff program the product you're building. You have to persuade them via an oral presentation or perhaps a podcast why this will be the best long-term decision, even if it is creating problems currently. So that might be a staff meeting where 100 people are in a room and you're talking to them with a presentation. It might be a webinar where you talk to people over in different countries at the same time. Or it might just be an email to your 3 colleagues. There's various ways you can do this, but you still need to be able to convince your staff that your way of making the change that you have decided on is a good idea and will be the best idea for the company. So that's another circumstance where communication is essential. And without communication, without being able to convince people about this change, what would be the outcome? Well, you might have a team full of IT workers who aren't really convinced that they're doing the right thing. They think they're doing pointless work for no reason, and morale may decline. Projects may even fail, perhaps. So it's really important that you get this right. All right, let's look at some ads for IT jobs. Let's find out about that. So I'll just go to Seek. I'll type in analyst programmer. All right, here's a PHP developer in Melbourne. So this has got lots of different things here. Must be able to work as part of the team when required, but also be able to work autonomously to a common known goal. And right down the bottom here, it says excellent English communication, speaking and writing. So essentially, this is a requirement of this job, being able to have excellent English communication. Right, here's an analyst programmer. So, only 2 years experience in JavaScript, passionate about software quality, happy working in a fun, fast-paced, dynamic environment, excellent written and verbal communication skills. So there's that requirement again. So all this other stuff here, down the bottom, lots of technical skills. Highly regarded. Not essential, but highly regarded. What is required and essential is that you are passionate, you're happy working in a fun, fast-paced, dynamic environment, and you have excellent written and verbal communication skills. So often it seems that written communication skills are essential. So the question I have for you is, it's 3 to 4 years from now, and you're going for a job interview. How are you going to demonstrate that you meet that selection criterion? So you have to demonstrate it. You can't just say that you meet that selection criterion. You need to demonstrate that you've done something. So there's a few things you could do. You could, for instance, run a blog of some kind, present or write in a public forum, or you could get an HD in this subject. So this subject is called Communications for IT Professionals, and if you show that you have an HD or even a D in this subject, you can show that you have excellent communication skills. So it's important to spend a bit of time thinking about how you're going to pass a job interview when you finish this degree. Not only when you finish this degree, but start thinking about what you can do now towards that goal. All right, another question. How many other universities teach this course? Is UTS the only one that teaches communications for IT professionals? Well, no. Most other universities have a similar type of subject. For instance, Sydney Uni has professional engineering and IT. UWS has principles of professional communications. Macquarie has academic communications and IT and society, so they have 2 subjects. Anyway, basically UTS is not the only university that teaches this subject. All right, there was an AC Nielsen survey of employer satisfaction with graduate skills, and it found the greatest skill deficiencies in Australian graduates are technical skills. Well, no, not technical skills. They said creativity and flair, oral communications, and problem solving. So those are all basically skills to do with communication. Similarly, graduate attributes we've identified at UTS through a survey of IT employers. The ability to work in collaborative environments, to talk with other people and work in groups as a productive member of a team, that's really essential. It's also essential to have competency in written and oral professional communication and effectiveness in the formulation of reasoned arguments, there's that term reasoned arguments, and clear explanations in writing and speaking. So we keep on coming back to this. It's not good enough just to write something down and expect people to understand it, no matter how you write it down. You need to be able to convince people with your writing and explain difficult concepts really clearly. Alright, thank you very much. That's the end of this video.